Good morning, good morning, good morning. Are you an intelligent leader with organized plans in your business and in your life? Good morning. My name is Ann McNeil, and I am the Master Wealth Builder, helping you to build stronger and better lives and businesses. And today, we are going to help you understand how to crystallize your desire with organized planning in terms of how do you actually take action to take your plans into reality. Today, we are going to also introduce to you, I want to call her a co-host extraordinaire from our past, but I also want to call her a friend, an awesome individual, a thought leader, a phenomenal woman that she is. We're going to also introduce you to our special guest today, Miss PEGINE. But before we do that, we want to make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube if you have not done so yet. We want to make sure you comment, like, and share this podcast, but also ask a friend, a family member, a relative, or even somebody you don't necessarily care for, and have them come on and listen to this show today, because we are going to go places that we have not gone before. And that is discussing areas of your life in particular that we normally don't think about organizing those plans. So, of course, I could do this podcast by myself, but not today. Let me welcome to the show our special, always special, especially when they're here. Our special co-host started with Dr. Peter James. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Dr. James. How are you this
Good,
morning?
good morning there, Ann McNeil. Is so excited to be jumping on in this phenomenal conversation with our very special guest who will be joining us today. I'm excited about organized planning a little bit because, Napoleon Hill says in this chapter 6 of this text, if the first plan which you adopt does not work successfully, replace it with a new plan. If this new plan fails to work, replace it in turn with still another, and so on until you find a plan which does work. Oftentimes, we as humans, we don't just keep going back to the drawing board. We don't try to partner with others. We sometimes just scrap it, don't do anything. And I'm hoping after today, especially after we hear our phenomenal special guest, that we'll realize that this is not the path. How can you go back to the well? How can you be able to think differently, shift your mindset, if I could? So, and McNeil, right back to you.
All right. Let us also bring back to the podcast this morning none other than Galen Bingham. Good morning, Galen. How are you this morning?
Good morning. I am amazing this morning. I can't wait to have this conversation. This is an incredibly important topic. I think the difference between a dream and a goal is the organized plan. If you don't have an organized plan, then it's just a dream. It's just a dream. As a matter of fact, I've heard it said that a dream without a plan is just a hallucination. So let's not kid ourselves. Unless you've got a way of organizing the plan to make your dream a reality, then it's just a conversation that we're having. You're not actually going to do it if you don't have plans. So we're going to talk about the importance of building a plan around those things that you say you want to do. And we're also going to talk, as Ms. Ann said, we're also going to talk about some areas that you might not necessarily think about building a plan around, but it's really, really important if in fact you actually want to do the thing that you talk about. And I'm going to say if you've got folks around you that constantly talk about doing something someday and there's no plan, you might want to have them change the topic because, again, they're just having a conversation. Back to you, Peter.
Back to me. Well, I'm excited today there. And we got to bring out our special surprise guest today, right? Are we ready to do that?
You got it, Dr. Peter.
Maybe I
Bring
got
her
it.
out. Bring her
Maybe I
out.
got it. Galen, what I love about this special guest is as we always used to introduce her when she was not just a special surprise guest, when she was part of the weekly morning trek. We used to say the lady who goes by one name and doesn't even need another to introduce her. Do we remember that there, Galen?
Absolutely. As a
And
matter of
so
fact, I don't even know that I can properly pronounce her last name because I've only said it like 2 or 3 times in my life.
But I tell you, I'm so excited. I'm so warm to have this special guest back with us there. So without further ado, Pegine, can you come back on the show today and grace us with your extravagance?
Well, I am here. I'm here? I don't know if you could see me.
We see you
Oh, good, because I don't see me, but I know that I'm awesome.
and we
So
hear
I'm
you and we see you.
good. But I'm thrilled to be back with the gang. There are certain gangs in the world that make a huge difference in a person's life. And the three of you are a part of that gang for me to say, let's get this rocking and rolling. Let's get this going. Organized planning. While I was away, well, during, this is my first plan. This was done decades and decades and decades and decades ago. This is one of my organized plans. And I was thinking as you were talking, Galen, and I realized people need to recognize that this is kind of what organized plans sometimes look like. It's a piece of paper that has be to have. Who do I want to be? What do I want to have? And what do I need to do to get there? And this was written in 1985. And I wrote on October 15, 2002. I did it. I set out to do this and I did it, which is pretty cool to see. I don't know if you could see it, but organized plans, you just have to have them. My thing is, well, we're going to talk about it long, but it's creating it, following it, updating it, changing it, evaluating it, living it, doing it, chucking it, starting again, and making sure that you always have the plan in all areas of your life. And Ann and I, well, you all know this too. So I'll stay quiet for a minute.
Again, we are so excited to have you back. For those of our new listeners and even who are listening on audio and on YouTube, Pegine was the most phenomenal member of our foursome for quite a lot of time. Actually, I think we had a fivesome back in the day for sure. But we used to meet here, and I would love it because Pegine would wake me up every single Saturday morning because I feel like there we have it. But she is such a phenomenal individual, but also a phenomenal guest, and her story and her background are going to be enlightening this organized planning chapter for today. So again, I would love for you, especially when we come back to you, is share a little bit of who you are, your background, how you got here, and then also would love to hear how you were introduced to this book way back when. It was maybe it was back in the 80s also.
In the 70s. Back in the 70s, I was introduced to Think and Grow Rich.
So we'll definitely have to talk about that in a little bit for sure. Before we dive into that there, Pegine, Galen, we have a video coming up that really kind of encapsulates these 13 steps. Do you mind teeing it up for us just a little bit, sir?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I love that we talk about this philosophy in detail every week. We have a different guest talking about how they bring each of the principles to life. But one of the things that I really enjoy is seeing how this philosophy all fits together, because it's there's something about what's in the goulash, that it's about that connecting tissue. It's about that something that you can't quite put your finger on, that connects everything together, that I believe gives this philosophy its magic. So take a listen to this video. We'll be back on the other side to get into this conversation with our special guest, PEGINE.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the Wild Wild West days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
Good stuff this morning. We are back diving on into organized planning with PEGINE. Want to make sure that we acknowledge our folks in YouTube world. We have Carla Hill. Carla, good morning from Philadelphia. See Doretha, Gloria, Johnny Lloyd, as always. Sherry Rudolph, good morning to you. Colette, Shannon, who have I missed? Thank you all for being here in YouTube world. Please don't hesitate to bring questions for our special guest. And before I hand it back over to Ann McNeil, I want to remind us from Napoleon Hill, this sentence that many of us know very, very well. But for those of you who are listening, really pay particular attention to this. Riches, when they come in huge quantities or any quantity, are never the result of hard work. Riches come, if they come at all, in response to definite demands based upon the application of definite principles, and not by chance and not by luck. Ann McNeil, I think that's a good segue into this organized planning conversation as we go back to PEGINE. Are you here?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
here. Just a
good
little
stuff.
technical difficulties.
No problem.
But you know who it is, and he's a liar. Yes, sir. That's because there's a spirit in the universe that's attempting to steal the joy of many of you. And I need for you, Peter, if I go off, I want to make sure we properly introduce PEGINE from her bio. And I say that because we are in the midst of greatness here. And one of the challenges that many of us have when we're so familiar with an individual, we tend to, I don't want to say minimize who they are in the world, but sometimes we don't always give them the credit for the work that they've done. And so with that thought in mind, I'd like for us, if you don't mind, Peter or Galen, whoever is hosting, can you pull up PEGINE's JPEG? Because there are many people who are in the future that will be watching this. The JPEG that we shared to everybody promoting the podcast. There are individuals who will watch this video in the future because it is evergreen. This is an evergreen podcast. And there are some of you that will watch this and you will hear this phenomenal woman share a lot about who she is and what she does, but you really need to know a little bit more about who she is and where she's from. Because when you hear her share how she has used this principle of organized planning, it is very important that you understand that if she can do it, Galen can do it, Peter can do it, I can do it, so can you. So just for those of you that are joining us for the first or second time, and you hear us talk about, PEGINE, I'm going to read this into the transcript because this is being recorded. So PEGINE is a dynamic and, of course, force in women's leadership, in business, and I will say in the world. As a seasoned coach and speaker, she empowers women leaders to unlock their full potential and thrive in the competitive business world. And I'll also add personal and business world. Her experience and her expertise has made her a sought-after speaker at conferences worldwide. PEGINE's journey to success is nothing short of remarkable. From her challenging teen years in the Bronx to her transformation into a global thought leader, she embodies resilience and determination. PEGINE's accolades speak volumes. She's been recognized by Society for Human Resources, many of us know as SHRM. I could go on and on and on because The National Speakers Association has recognized her. The majority of the women's organizations have recognized her. The White House has recognized her. But I would like for all of us, if we could give a snap, snap and a clap, clap to our friend and past co-host to this podcast, PEGINE. Welcome to the podcast, PEGINE.
Hi, I'm so excited to be here, and thank you so much for sharing that. And you know, when you're, I think when you follow the path of Think and Grow Rich, you're constantly taking steps forward, right? And it's really interesting and humbling when someone shares what you've done in the past, right? What you've achieved and where you've gone and the transformational changes. And that's why, that's why I love being on the show. That's why I love talking about Think and Grow Rich, because it doesn't matter where you come from. What matters is what you do with what you have that has been a gift given to only you. Your gifts, and how are you maximizing those gifts? So thank you so much, Anne, for sharing that. I do appreciate that tremendously. I'm going to appreciate it so much. And everybody that's watching, your leaders here are equally as powerful and equally as impressive and giving. And I think that we are all part of the Think and Grow Rich family, because you can't get here without each other, that's for sure. And you can't get there without having an organized plan, or at least written on a little napkin. Plan is good enough too. Right, Galen?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm gonna jump in here and ask the first question. But before I do, if you're watching this on YouTube, please hit that thumbs up icon so that we can let YouTube know that there's something else going on other than presidential indictments and Sean Combs and whatever it is that they're talking about on YouTube. There's something else going on that's positive, that's actually going to speak into your life. So hit that thumbs up icon underneath the video so that YouTube knows that we are here making it happen. So Pagine, I got to jump in with the first question, because it's easy for folks to look at Pagine now, see you on stage, and I know a little bit about some of the awards that you've received, and you can't receive those awards without having a system behind you, without building a business. It's more than just being dynamic on stage. You have to be dynamic on stage, but you have to have a business system, an organized plan behind you. Talk a little bit about what it was like when that plan didn't seem like it was coming together, when you had this vision of what you wanted, but you didn't quite have a plan of how to get there, or the first plan that you rolled out didn't quite work, or the first website that you rolled out didn't quite look. What was it that caused you to continue to stay focused on the dream, although the plan wasn't coming together?
Wow, that's a super great question. So just to give you mentioned the website. I've had been in business for 30 years. I've had probably 28 different websites, because I'm evolving, I'm changing, I'm growing, I'm expanding, my brand grows, I change, right? So, and I think that's something that's really important. So I have always, if you can think of the Don Quixote or Don Quixote, sometimes I felt like that, where like you're chasing after windmills and you're showing up and like it's not there, what's happening? And then other times I have felt like Joan of Arc, but I always have this flag, this which has annoyed me to death and has been the most liberating thing for me. Okay. I just knew in my history, in my story of life, in my involvement, and most importantly, there was a dramatic decision for me at one point when I was national sales manager for Pierre Cardin menswear. And we were at meeting with the president and the head of marketing and all, and I was the only female, I was the only Hispanic, I was the only, like, I was the only. And in that particular meeting, a gentleman came in to clean the office. Said, "Can I grab the garbage can?" And he was someone that I knew. He was a Jose. And he just, he wasn't making noise. He just said, "I just need to get the garbage can." And then he did, and he came out. And then somebody in that meeting said, they're letting them in everywhere. Now, not really a smart thing to say in front of me. People have called me a wolf in lamb's clothing because my skin is light, because I've evolved. People assume, oh, we don't know where she's from, but they just assume that I'm in lamb's clothing. Let me put it that way. And at that point, I stood up and I said to the person, I said, looked at the president, I said, "How dare you allow him to speak like that about one of your employees? How dare you not speak up as a leader?" And that could be my grandfather. And I'm leaving the organization. Now, I was young. I was so young. Oh, and the things we do when we're young, sometimes we do silly things. And at that moment, I said, I'm leaving. And I walked out, and I thought I was very principled. And, about 3 years later, I realized what a stupid thing I did to leave. Like, because I knew I was going to be president. I knew I could fire him when I'm president. I knew that. I knew that because, and I'll tell you why. I started as receptionist, and my plan was to be president and CEO of a company. And I was reading Success Magazine, and I was always reading Think and Grow Rich. I knew where I was going. In that one moment, and you were talking about the devil. In that one moment, what made me stand up was pride. What made me stand up was sometimes my rebellion. And you all three know me very well that I could be extremely rebellious, which is not really sometimes in my best interest. But that was a moment that I knew that my flag had to be, at that moment, it was women and minorities in the workplace. It was, how do I work with companies and organizations so they understand how they help or hinder the growth of women and minorities in the workplace, and how women and minorities help and hinder themselves from not applying, from not going after, to not saying I'm getting ready. So that became my flag. And over time, that flag, that sounded very corporate and very professional to say it that way, like the PhD Peter would have gone with me. Yes, that's organizational development. Let's talk about that. But that was not fitting my personality. So now my mantra is to be bold, be brave, be seen, be heard, and be paid well. And I focus on women of color, women, because 52% of the world is female, and we should be in 52% of all leadership roles. And then you'll see transformation. So that's my flag. That's where I stand. Sometimes I'm Don Quixote going after windmills as I fight, and other times I'm more like Joan of Arc and I'm winning. But most importantly, I'm just living that way. It's, desire. Desire is the number one thing that we need. And the passion of that desire keeps the flame alive. And sometimes when you're beat up, it's just a little flame. And other times it's like a major forest fire that you can't stop me. But it's organized planning that takes that unbridled power and passion into a plan of action. Because, Galen and Peter, let me tell you something. I was in non-for-profit world, and I did really great work on behalf of what we're talking about. But they don't fund the dreams that I had for my family. That didn't fund the old lady that one day was going to come about. When I used to have black hair, that being a not-for-profit was not going to give me what I needed. And look at that face. I could tell when Anne has something to say. She does
Yes.
this thing with her mouth.
Yes, I
So
do.
go for it.
Yes. Now, you just tapped into my question. We shared before the podcast started, and I'm going to go to you first, then Galen, then Peter. We talked about organized plans in the area of business, but we also, because we're friends, we began to talk about organized plans in our family. And so I'd like to have you share something that you were sharing earlier about the fact that in your family, in your marriage, you also have plans. Can you share? And then I'm going to come to you, Galen, and then to Peter.
Oh, absolutely. So if I can share two things. So this year I'm celebrating my 40th wedding anniversary. Yay! If you were at the wedding, yay! Most of you I never see again, but yay! So it's my 40th wedding anniversary. And when we celebrated our 25th, which was also a miracle, I come from a family of everybody's divorced except for one family member, and I've got hundreds of cousins. So just understand, divorce is normal in my family. So at my 25th anniversary, it was a huge thing that for me that, wow, we've been together. And I had a dream. I said to myself, boy, if we hit 40, we should do something. I want to do something like amazing. And the idea was in my head, percolating, was that I wanted to rent a villa in Italy and have my family, my two kids, and if they had spouses and if they had grandchildren, come with us for a week in Italy together. Well, we're going in September. We're going in September. And the whole family is coming. And what did this mean is that I had to, over time, communicate it with my husband. So we looked at Italy. We looked at maps of Italy. We looked at, wow, one day, wouldn't it be great if we did this? It required me to watch other people who were doing things that were so out of my experience. Like, I don't know anybody from my neighborhood and the gang that I was in the Bronx that ever went to a villa in Italy. So I needed to educate myself and work through organized planning the concepts of I'm worthy of receiving, I'm determined to receive, I'll be fiscal. Oh, and I am a huge believer of no debt. So this was going to be a no debt experience. That's just me. And so it also took saving money, planning it, putting the money aside, what this would cost. And so, yeah, so we're going and it's great. And so that's one thing. The second thing that I want to talk to all the parents out there, all the parents out there, all the parents out there. The second thing that was really important to me, my husband, David, and I did not take any loans or do anything for college. We lived in New York City back then. You could go to college for free. David and I made a decision before we had kids that we were not going to pay for the kids' college. And the kids were going to figure, and the kids were not going to take out loans. And from the time they were born, and I mean in my arms, I would tell Andrea and Kenneth, you're going to go to college and I'm not going to pay for it. Neither will you. You're going to go to college and I would say that to them. And from the time they were little, I would say, you're going to go to college and you will figure out how to get this paid for, but you're not taking any loans on all the time. Well, Kenneth, who was not my great state, Kenneth just about graduated from high school. Let's just put it clear. But Kenneth then ended up going in the military and got to go to college for free and then got a scholarship to finish his BA. And he's getting a scholarship now for his master's. It's so normal to him to not have debt about that. Andrea, who is my follow the rules, do this right. Wrote to the Naval Academy when she was in 7th grade of what would I need to get into the Naval Academy. And they sent her a package with a list of all the courses she would have to take, all the volunteer activities that she would take, and she taped it to the refrigerator. And that girl was diligent. The reason she did that was she thought if she followed everything that it took to get into the Naval Academy, it would be everything that every college would want. So, are you ready for something? Can you put your hands on your chairs? Can you hold on really tight? Because at high school graduation, they were announcing all the scholarships that people had won. We in our home had not calculated the scholarships that Andrea had been offered, but the school did, and she had reached over $500,000 in college scholarships. She went to Wellesley.
Woohoo.
She went to Wellesley full ride. She took MIT ROTC and gave back to Wellesley half the scholarship because she said, give that to somebody else that can use it. But when she graduated Wellesley, who does this? They gave her $5,000 because the scholarships have overpaid. So she didn't graduate just without debt. She graduated with a $5,000 given to her. And then she went on to MIT, which was a full ride. Don't tell me you can't. You can if you have a plan. So that's family, right? Family. They don't have debt. They were able to buy houses before the age they were 30. And David and I are going to Italy with the whole family, my granddaughter, and with all of you. Do you know how awesome it is to be with you? To know that this is a dream come true. This was in my plan to be able to be on this box talking to you. This is what organized planning does and desire. It creates opportunities and situations and beliefs. Galen, what do you have to say?
Yeah, let me just reintroduce Galen before he starts going down that road, because as a part of the International Mastermind Association, which is, the not-for-profit that we have that promotes and shares this podcast, we focus on setting goals, organized plans in every single area of our lives. So for those of you that's listening, if you just came on, our special guest is Miss PEGINE. That's the one name you like Cher. She's not Cher, but kind of resembles Cher a little bit. But anyway, we set goals in every area of our lives. We're going to talk about the annual meeting in just one moment. But PEGINE, as you've heard, she's talked about her business. She's talked about her family. The other areas that we set goals in are spiritual, financial, education, health, personal development, business, you've heard, recreation, creativity, and civic. But we also encourage the setting of those goals for 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Personally, I'm in my 45th year right now. And so, success is not an accident. You must have first Napoleon Hill, when he starts this principle off, he talks about the desire principle and the imagination in the 6 steps. And so now I'd like to have Galen share his experience with his organized plans in his spiritual area, just so that he doesn't go off on a tangent talking about something else. Just want to make sure it's clear. Galen.
Yeah. So just as I said at the very beginning, a dream without a plan is just a hallucination. One of the areas that this process encourages, or that Ms. Ann's process encourages, is that you set a goal in all areas of your life. I have always been quite proud of the plans that I've had for my business, for my career. I've even set some pretty cool goals for my recreation. But when I looked at my plan for this year, I was actually kind of disappointed in the level of my goals for my spiritual life. And so I decided that I would replay something that I accomplished 14 years ago, and that is the 90-day Bible challenge. And so the 90-day Bible challenge is to read the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelation in 90 days, cover to cover in 90 days. And so I set that as my goal. But as I said before, a goal, a dream without a plan is just a hallucination. I had to look at my own limiting beliefs. My own limiting belief was, I knew that if I didn't have some accountability, any football game or basketball game on TV would be a reason not to read. So I accumulated a group of friends. I got 13 people to do this journey with me. We set up dates to connect with each other on a weekly basis every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. We meet to discuss what we read. We got a reading plan. I got resources. I've got a physical Bible. I've got an electronic Bible, and I got the same version of the Bible on the audiobook. So wherever I am, I'm focused on getting through this plan to read the Bible in 90 days. Now, to be fair, I'm 120 days into my 90-day Bible challenge, right? But, we are past the Old Testament. We're into the New Testament. I personally, I'm in 2 Corinthians right now because, again, I had a goal. I built a plan. I built accountability. I had to look at my own limiting beliefs and make sure that the plan addressed all of that. So this, one of the things I'm really excited about is that this process and this organized planning concept works with any goal that you set for yourself. It's not just about money, although it works with money too, but it's about anything that you seriously decide that you really, really want to accomplish. So how did I do, Ann? Is that the
You
story?
did
Is that
great. You did
all right?
great. And I know we have to land this plane pretty soon. And so I want to go to Peter to talk about the annual meeting because, again, we've talked with PEGINE, and the last couple of years, life happens. Life happens, and she wasn't able to join us. But she told us today she will be joining us. And for those of you that have come in the past, we had a situation a couple of weeks ago where Beatrice Lewis Saint had PEGINE and myself and Jeremy from FSA, Florida Speakers Association, on a panel. And she did such a phenomenal job, PEGINE, phenomenal job. Thank you. I cannot say enough about how, oh, yes, I'm working on it, PEGINE. I have it right here about promoting my book, How to Start and Run a Successful Mastermind Group. Thank you, PEGINE. Yes, she beat me inside the head, but I'm getting a little bit better. And in the book, we have 10 areas of your life, the survey that we encourage you to take for every area. And so I'm going to ask Peter if he would talk a little bit about why it's important, because what PEGINE did, what Jeremy did, and what Beatrice did is forcing this event to be sold out for the first time in the history of this annual meeting for your life. And so if you've come before and you've not gotten your ticket yet, please do so. It's PEGINE. Yes, let's let's spotlight that. Let's spotlight that. Hold on. Can everybody see that? Attend the most important meeting of the year, of your year and your life. Think and Grow Rich is Friday, January 3rd and 4th, 2025. And you see the QR code there. You can scan that right there. PEGINE, thank you. Are the best. We'll give you a moment. Take your phones out. Yes, your phone. We're talking to you. I'll take mine out too so I can make sure we see what are we seeing here. We're going to ask all of you to scan that. Peter, I'm still coming to you because I want you to share your experience. It's one thing to talk about. Talk about it. Okay, PEGINE, thank you. Yes. Internationalmasterminders.com. You can go there and register. But Peter's going to share with us briefly his experience, and then we're going to come back to PEGINE, and we're going to share about all of the wonderful things that she's doing. So Peter, if you could share your experience and why do you think it's important for a person's business and your life, and even share maybe a little bit about your daughter who was masterminding with us with the youth.
And who will be back this year for sure. What's interesting, and you said a little bit of this already there. And first of all, sometimes I'll not speak for myself. It's easy for me to plan and be strategic about career or business, right? And really have those organized plans for career or business. But for other areas of my life, I'm not always as detailed. What I love about this annual event here is the opportunity to be able to look more in depth at other areas of my life that are just as important, if not more so. Examples, my health, my financial health, my family as a whole, as Pegine has identified. Yeah, I love to take family on vacations. It's just no greater feeling. I have my daughters in town this weekend. I just love it sitting there and just having them all there for sure, all my entire family. So now this annual event allows us to do a deep dive into multiple areas. And I'm encouraging you all, if you know you're not a planner, if you know sometimes you can get off track, that's almost all of us, right? How about this? Some of us chase the shiny object, right? If any of these might be you, then please, please, please consider this annual meeting that occurs every January. And this year, of course, we're back to Boca Raton, Florida for the event. Please register. You see the information there. You can go to I think it's what is it? Evite. What's the Evite platform that you go to? I can't even think of it right now there, Ann.
Eventbrite.
Eventbrite. I said
Yes.
Evite. Eventbrite, to be able to go there, type in Think and Grow Rich International Mastermind Association, dive on in. This is an opportunity to be held accountable for your goals. Listen, no one's going to rake you over the coals, but everyone's going to be saying, hey, what are your plans for the future? And there's nothing like accountability in order to see your goals through. Who is holding you accountable? This is a great start to that overall. So thank you so much, Ann. Looking forward to seeing everybody there this coming January.
All right, thank you. Thank you. We're going to come back to you, Begin. You have some phenomenal activities that you're planning. So if you can share with our audience how people can stay connected with you, because you have a lot of friends who are on that have joined the podcast just so they can hear from you today. Would like to have you share anything that you are you're involved in that you'd like to have the audience know.
Oh, there's so much to talk about. So
That's why we're giving you a lot of time.
yeah, so the first of everybody can get my new book that's been around, well, new in the last year, which is 50 Success Secrets for Feisty, Fearless Female Leaders. And you can go to www.pegine.com/50 secrets. You see right there, pegine.com/50 secrets. It's free to you. So you can just put your name in there, put your email, and you get the book. Share it with your daughters, share it with your wives, your mothers. Okay, share it with everybody. Just share it and tell them, yes, get this book. And then you can also reach me, go to PEGINE, PEGINE.com. And that's my website, my speaking website. And notice I am very, very out there when I'm speaking. I am not a calm speaker. I'm a motivational, in your face, let's get stuff done speaker. So that would be fabulous to go in and check that out. And again, all you have to do is go into Google and you write PEGINE. Just write PEGINE in Google and you'll find my YouTube, you'll find my LinkedIn, you'll find everything about me. And I would love to connect with you and know you and share and just rebuild our lifestyle together by being bold and brave and seen, heard. I just want you all to be powerful and be you. You can adapt, but don't conform. Be yourself.
All right, thank you so very much. We have lots of people in the audience listening in. And so Galen and Peter, we're going to start going around to each of you and asking you to share with us your major takeaway from PEGINE today. And PEGINE, if you have any other comments, thoughts that you'd like to share about this organized planning principle, because there's so much in this principle. And as many of us know, when we do our Black NSA Mastermind in particular, where we read a principle a week, this is one of the toughest principles to get through because there's so much in it. Go ahead, PEGINE.
just want to say something. Galen said, and I love that you said this, Galen, that as he was doing his 90-day Bible retreat, it's become his 120-day Bible retreat. One of the things that I think is so important for everybody to recognize in terms of planning. Planning is your idea of where you're going and your commitment to moving forward. Then Source, God, has ways to help you grow in that you're not expecting. So one of my plans was, to start about 5 years ago, to become a vegan and lose weight. And yeah, I lost 80 pounds. I've still got more to go. But, right now, the universe, it's like, okay, you keep on going to plan, you're getting blocked. It's okay. It's okay. As long as I have a plan and work the plan, eventually the rest will move. It's not about you being in control. It's about you deciding this is the road I'm going to take, and I'm going to keep on that road, even if life gives me side roads to go visit, even if life gives me a little bumps in the road, even if life gives me things that don't look like it's part of the plan. Trust me, it's part of the bigger plan. You just got to keep the plan. And I really appreciate you said that, Galen, because I think that people get stuck in perfectionism, and perfectionism is poison.
I love
It's
that.
process. It's process. That's magic.
It's amazing. I love that. And one of the things that I say quite often to my clients is that you want to marry the objective, but date the strategy. So
Mm.
you're gonna date the strategy, and if a better strategy, I used to have a manager used to say, "I reserve the right to improve the process at any point along the way." I'm married to the outcome, but I'm dating the strategy. And one of the things, as far as my ahas, one of the things that I always seem to do when I hang out with PEGINE is I start evaluating how I can upsize my plan, how I can upsize what I'm doing, how I can be Galen, but more so. And so again, that's always the energy that I have. So if you're looking for a keynote speaker, definitely PEGINE is if she's not at the top, she's near the top of the game. My name is Galen Bingham. I am the leadership strategist. There are just so many ways that you can get a hold of me if you want to get some more of what I do, which is executive coaching, leadership development, and strategic planning. But the most fun way is to check out the podcast Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership. We're on every podcast platform. We're streaming in 20 different countries. And if you look throughout the seasons, we just closed season 5, getting ready to launch season 6. You'll find conversations that I've had with Dr. Peter James, my first ever podcast guest, and he's back in season 6, I believe. We've got a conversation with Miss Ann McNeil. Even PEGINE has been on the podcast, so definitely check it out. I double dog dare you to try us at least once. Guarantee you that you will learn something that will help you get at least one step closer to where you really want to be.
All right. Thank you. Dr. James.
Yeah, first of all, PEGINE, it's such an honor to have you back for sure. Excited. I love the energy. As we think about organized planning, one of the things that resonates the most is what are the habits in our lives that we are being consistent with in order to accomplish our goals and our objectives. I love how Galen had put it, to fall in love with that strategy part of it. While we have those goals and objectives, we have to be extremely comfortable with the process. Fall in love with the process, really embrace it, make it easy for us in some form or fashion. The reason that many of us fall off that planning train, that goal, is because we get frustrated when we don't see results. And if you're falling in love with the process, falling in love with the strategy, then it's easier to stay on the track instead of to get derailed. So if this is you and you're listening to this, I encourage you all to reflect on, yeah, the organized planning is important. The accountability is important, but what's just as important now is to ensure that you are embracing that process, loving it, having fun with it, for lack of a better word, in order for you to accomplish that goal and that objective overall, for sure. Hey folks, my name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach, helping you to shift your mindset. You can find me at shiftyourmindset.com or usually LinkedIn, where I hang out the most. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Those of you who are on YouTube right now, I gotta ask you all, what does the process look like for you? Is it fun? Are you enjoying it? I'm coming out with a book soon called Every Day is a Monday. Do you love Mondays? If not, something might need to change. Okay, I'm off the high horse there, Ann McNeil.
And before you go in, Peter said something that I just want to take really
Yes.
fast is, you know, the process. One of the things that one of the biggest transformational action steps that I've taken in my life, and it sounds, it's been one of the best things, because at least I know every day I have accomplished something, because I make my bed. Every day I make my bed. And I had no idea how valuable and important that one action is. But I will tell you, I have fun with Peter. I make my bed, I put it over, I make believe I'm in a hotel. I do it now I could do it really, really fast, but I make my bed. And do you want to know something? Nighttime, when it's time to go in, both my husband and I feel like we're back in like a luxurious room. And there's a sense of, I've taken care of business from the first of the morning to the end of night. And there's nothing quite like it. So these organized plans don't need to be big plans, but that one make your bed plan of organized planning is a satisfaction at its best.
Okay, you're tipping on my toes, both of you. I am writing a book for the last 20 years called You Must Have a Dream to Have a Dream Come True. I'm writing that book with Dr. Mia Merritt, and my desire is to write a page or paragraph a day. I don't always do that. But interestingly, the section that I wrote about yesterday was why I do not like to make my bed. And the self-discipline that is required to set a goal and keep it starts with the small steps, like making your bed. And then for you to talk about that, I don't think it's a coincidence that I need to mention it, because we often think it's the big things. But are you disciplined enough? And are you committed enough? And is your desire a burning desire? You see, when you start with this first principle that Napoleon Hill talks about, organized planning, the very first thing he says, the very, very, very first thing that he said that knocked me side my head again this morning in preparation for this and last night, he says, you have learned everything that man creates or requires begins in the form of desire. And that desire is taken a step in a journey with the imagination. But this imagination is where your plans for the accumulation of what you desire happens. And then he goes into this long dialogue about how to organize your plans. And when we started this podcast, we promised that we were going to help you understand how to crystallize your desire into plans. It is in this principle. Start with your burning desire, because you cannot have a plan if you don't have a desire. PEGINE had a desire to have her family to go and celebrate with her after 40 years of marriage to Italy. Now the plans are created. The desire is burning, so it doesn't matter what happens. Wi-Fi problems, doesn't matter what happens. She's going, because she's going to detail every plan. The author also says, if you want to have really good plans, start with the mastermind group. Her family is her mastermind group. because you must be like-minded and like spirit in order to have people help support you in these plans. So they are aligning themselves to make specific plans. They're going to hold each other accountable for that trip. Galen already demonstrated the exact same thing for the spiritual area of his life. Begine also talked about her health area of her life. Dr. Peter, Grandpa, what more do each of you want and desire? Because if you don't have a desire, the plans are inconsequential. Now, Peter Galen talked about process. So I love to read. And one of my new books that I'm reading is from Mike Patton, and it's called Process. How do I take my business to the next level? But what are you using to take your life to the next level? And my name is Ann McNeil, and I'm suggesting you use this process. It's called How to Start and Run a Successful Mastermind Group. Take accountability on and challenging each and every one of you to take accountability for each and every area of your business and your life. And I'm going to wrap up with this, and we are a little after 9, and we'll give you your time back. I was sharing before this podcast started, as we're talking about organized plans, I was sharing with everyone, I said, we can talk about the business side. And I'm sitting here watching your face, Begin, and I'm watching your spirit is so very different. It is so very, just so calm. It's so, serene. Because you're planning all these years. Now that you're a grandmother, things have changed. All of the things that we thought that were so very important. I'm talking to many of you who are young and up and coming. Don't be so focused on that which disappears. Because when you are lying on your deathbed, and I like to open my keynote workshops, everything with that scene, when you're lying there, that money's not going to bring you a glass of water. That money is not going to bring you a towel to wipe your brow. That money is not going to bring you lotion for your feet as you're transitioning out of this world. It's going to be those people who love you. And I'm going to end with this. I was sharing before we started. I said, I did a post, and some of you may have seen it. Begine and I were blessed to be a part of Beatrice Lewis Saint's event from the Florida Regional Minority Purchasing Council in Florida. For those of you that live in other states, you have one in your area. So Begine and I and Jeremy were on the panel, and Begine had something she had to do immediately following. I had something I had to do immediately following, because prior to coming to Beatrice's event, I was in Costa Rica on a vacation that was not planned. Prior to doing that, I was at Women's Presidents Organization in Colorado, and I had not come home. I was going from place to place. But while I was at WPO, I'm standing in a booth, and a lady says she says, listen, we just had someone cancel all expense paid trip to Costa Rica, and we can't find anybody who wants to go. And she turns to me, I'm just standing in a booth. She turns to me and she says, Ann, would you like to go with us? I said, sure. All expenses paid. She says, yes, for a week, all you have to do is come. Now, I knew I had to see Begine. We're talking about planning here. I said, I knew I had to see Begine and Beatrice. So that was a plan already set in place. My point is, things change. You got to be willing to change with it. So I went to Costa Rica for a few days. I couldn't make it the week, but I had to come back to Beatrice. But more important than any of that is the fact that my grandson, Malachi, and this is what I was sharing earlier before this podcast started, I'm going to end with this. My grandson, Malachi, every year we take a grandma-grandson date. And he had made plans for me to join him in Tampa that same day as Beatrice's event. The same day and the following day, because he attended Dr. Myron Golden's event, and he sponsored me to go with him. Now, my point is this: I could have said to him, I can't go. I got this business commitment that I have with Beatrice for 2 days. But I couldn't do that. Why? Because I had organized plans before he was born. Organized plan for my grandchildren before he was born. And I'm talking to somebody, and I got chills. I'm talking to somebody, I don't know who you are that I'm talking to, that you think that your business is so important. You think that that money is so important. You think that that next conference, that next deal is so important, more important than your family. It's not, let me tell you. And I was sharing with everybody before we started, because 3 of us have become grandparents. 1 of us is still in the wing, not too soon. But we are learning that there's nothing more important than our family. I left Beatrice as soon as I was done. I took a flight. I went to Tampa and I joined him. But this is the point I want to make as I wrap up. We are all posting on social media, and we're looking to check to see how many likes, how many comments, and all of that. That one post is already at 3,000 and growing. I might get 100 in a day. I might get 20, but 3,000 off that one post that I did about my grandson. So I am going to wrap up and say, PEGINE, I love you. I thank you so very much. And I'm so happy that you are now a grandmother. And I can see the difference in you. I really can. And Peter, the same, grandpa, now that you are, oh, wow, both in the same year. Congratulations, both of you. I'm not speaking that, I'm okay. Okay, I have 2. And Gayla, you can wait, okay? Let her finish, okay, but you can wait. But for all of you, we promised we were going to share with you about crystallizing your plans. If you don't have plans for the other areas of your life, you need to get at least one thing that you desire, that's a burning desire other than your business and the money. My name is Ann McNeil. I am, yes, I am the Master Wealth Builder, helping you to build stronger and better life and business as I elevate women in this industry to go to the next level with my McNeil Factor process. You can connect with me by texting the number 59925. That number again is 59925. You can text that number, and in the chat, just put the word Ann, ANN. That's my name, and I will send back to you the organized planning process that Napoleon Hill says, which is in step number 4 of what you can do to organize your plans. And until next time, PEGINE, thank you so very much. We really appreciate you. You blessed us today. And for all of you, just make sure you remember to always think and grow richer. And until next time, we'll see you later. Have a great day.